All right. I call this meeting to order. Board Secretary will now call the roll.
Chair Mejia,
Here.
Vice Chair Sun,
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Nyorbe,
Here.
Director Angeles,
Present.
Director Kemp.
Here.
Director Rawlings. Director Rawlings has been excused. We have a quorum.
Great. Thank you, Jen. Now Elizabeth Brown will present the March 2025 Employees of the Month.
Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, Mr. McDonald, and all others assembled here today. I am Elizabeth Brown, Executive Director and Vice President of Organizational Development and Administration. In support of LBT's strategic priority of fostering employment engagement, it is my pleasure to acknowledge the employees of the month for March 2025. The employees of the month for March 2025 are Jesus Cortez, Armando Estrada, and Kip Boatwright. Bus operator Jesus Cortez, who is assigned to LBT1, has been with Long Beach Transit for almost 6 years, and this is his first Employee of the Month nomination. He consistently demonstrates professionalism, patience, and a commitment to serving our customers. Each day, Operator Cortez arrives early and ready to work, consistently prioritizing safety and adhering to LBT's protocols and road regulations. Earlier this month, Operator Cortez represented LBT at the 5-Star Rodeo, placing 3rd overall and earning 1st place in the pre-trip inspection competition. His discipline and dedication embody the level of service that strengthens LBT's mission. Mechanic Armando Estrada, who is assigned to LBT1, has been with LBT for 23 years, and this is his 4th Employee of the Month nomination. He is a skilled and dedicated technician who consistently takes the lead on challenging tasks while providing support to the team. As a primary air conditioning technician, he plays a key role in maintaining the hybrid bus fleet and annual preventative maintenance for AC on the buses. He is always willing to share his knowledge, assist with shift coverage, and ensure the job is done safely and efficiently. His leadership, problem-solving skills, and positive attitude make him a true asset to LBT. Supervisor Kip Boatwright, who is assigned to LBT2, has been with LBT for 12 years. This is his 1st Employee of the Month nomination. In his capacity as a transit service delivery extra board supervisor, he not only excels in his daily responsibilities, but supported the hiring process by taking part in over 100 interviews for bus operators, contributing to thoughtful and effective hiring decisions. In addition to his involvement in the interview process, Kip played a key role in shaping a comprehensive training program for new supervisors, ensuring they receive thorough and effective instruction that delivers consistent, high-quality training. His commitment, reliability, and dedication make him an invaluable asset to LBT. It is my pleasure to now present these valuable members of the Long Beach Transit team via video.
Hi, I'm Jesus Cortez. I am a bus operator at Long Beach Transit and been here about almost 6 years. What I like about working here at LBT is the people, the places I get to go to, and especially the sites as well. I'm really grateful that Long Beach Transit picked me as the Employee of the Month, and I'm also grateful to everyone who has congratulated me.
My name is Armando Estrada. I work for LBT for close to 24 years. and I'm a mechanic. My favorite part of working for Long Beach Transit is troubleshooting repairs. I'm happy to be the employee of the month.
My name is Kip Boatwright. I'm a transit service delivery supervisor. I've been working with Long Beach Transit for 12 years. My favorite part about working at Long Beach Transit is that every day is different. No matter what you're doing, even though you may be doing a similar job or a similar duty, every day is different. There's always going to be something that changes within the similar duties and the similar times and whatever you're doing, but every day is still different. Thank you for having me be Employee of the Month. I'm very excited, and it was definitely a shock and a surprise, and I'm very excited to be representing as Employee of the Month.
Thank you to all of the employees of the month for being dedicated to connecting communities, moving people, making everyday life better. We appreciate all essential workers, especially our own. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth. Are there any public comments? I would like to remind you, if you haven't done so already, you will need to submit a speaker card to our board secretary. Public comment? All right, well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. Then again, public comment. Is there any additional public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move to Ken McDonald, who will be presenting the President and CEO report.
Thank you, Chair Mejia. Good afternoon, members of the board and all who are assembled here today. I am Kenneth McDonald, President and CEO at Long Beach Transit. My monthly agency report will highlight some of our accomplishments and ongoing activities centered around our strategic priority. Our strategic priorities are improve safety and service quality, exercise financial accountability, foster employee engagement, enhance the customer experience, and promote community and industry focus. On March 8th, 2025, LBT participated in a 5-star bus rodeo hosted by Gardena Transit in Gardena, California. The local bus rodeo included competition events for bus operators from 8 different local transit agencies. Camaraderie around all those who competed, with an award ceremony for the top winners. LBT operators ranked 4th overall in the competition and 1st place in the pre-trip inspection. LBT had 3 winners of the event. Winners of the 1st place award, Gabriel Becerra Orozco. Winner of the 2nd place award, David Valdez, and winner of the 3rd place was Jesus Cortez. Jesus also won the pre-trip inspection 1st place award. The rodeo stands as a symbol of importance for bus operators and plays a role in transit customers with safe and reliable service. Operator Becerra Orozco, seen on the left, standing with, I think that's the CEO at Long Beach Transit, finished ranked 14th overall in the regional competition, and he will advance to the Apter International Bus Rodeo held in Austin, Texas from April 4th to 8th for the final competition. Hopefully he'll bring home a higher prize for us. He did extremely well in some areas, so I think he would improve on some of the ones that he didn't do as well and expect a much better performance from that operator. Transit Workers Appreciation Day is held annually on March 18th to honor transit operators and workers and show thanks for the important work they do. On Tuesday, March 18th, Long Beach Transit employees were invited to celebrate Transit Workers Appreciation Day with coffee, fruit, and other snacks to thank them for making everyday life better for LBT customers. Employee Engagement Committee members thank employees in the operator and maintenance lounges at the LBT facilities and at the LBT headquarters throughout the day. On March 19th, Long Beach Airport held a tenant appreciation event to celebrate airport tenants and business partners. At the event, LBT, along with Long Beach Fire and Long Beach Police, were recognized by Director Cynthia Guidry and given an award, LBG 100th Anniversary Portrait, did you see each person holding there, for supporting we were given the award for support during the Southwest emergency that occurred on September 16th. As a reminder, LBT Dispatch was contacted by the Long Beach Airport personnel to assist with transporting 168 customers after a Southwest airline landed on the runway and experienced a flat tire emergency. LBT staff provided 4 buses to the Long Beach Airport runway and assisted in transporting the passengers safely from the runway to the LGB terminal. Last month, staff presented an overview of the fiscal year 2026 budget process, including the public outreach. Earlier this month, staff created a survey to assess customer priorities. The survey is available in English and Spanish and will be posted until April 9th. Following the survey period, staff will review the feedback received and incorporate major themes into the upcoming budget. This ensures that customer priorities are considered in the financial planning and decision making. Later this month, staff will post an overview of the budget, where funds come from and how they are spent. The presentation will also explain how the priorities identified by customers are aligned with the plans in the upcoming budget. The survey and additional outreach will occur to promote the May 15 Board of Directors meeting, encouraging feedback and participation when the budget is presented to the full Board of Directors for approval. In celebration of National Procurement Month, and to introduce a new internal initiative known as PEER, Procurement Empowerment Educate Resource Program, LBT procurement team hosted an event aimed at increasing staff awareness about procurement roles and agency purchasing activity. The PEER program will consist of monthly meetings with procurement, grant, and department project managers to address questions and concern and to improve the openness and relatedness of success to project. The event highlighted LBT procurement activities and provided a valuable opportunity for internal clients to give feedback on their procurement questions and challenges. It also helped strengthen cross-departmental understanding and showcased the vital role procurement plays in keeping LBT as part of our community and running efficiently. On March 18th, I, along with the DCEO, attended LA Metro, LA County Transit Leadership Summit. The following key topics were discussed: regional strategy for zero emission bus and charging and purchasing, advancing integrated regional fare solution, safety and security strategies, customer experience and ridership recovery, transit amenities, partnering for rapid expansion, and the World Cup 2026, Super Bowl 2027, Olympics and paratransit in 2028, to provide where we could provide world-class transit. We were also able to explore collaborative solutions, share insights, and further foster partnerships on these critical topics for the future of transit in the region. Also, later that month, the Deputy CEO, Kim Yu, and myself attended Apta Transit CEO seminar in San Antonio, Texas, from March 21 and 23rd, with over 150 other CEOs and deputies from across the country. This seminar provided an opportunity for transit leaders to discuss management, policy, and quality of life issues unique to those at the head of their organization. The program focused on many critical challenges facing the industry and the C-suites. Topics included executive orders, reauthorization, appropriation, and the path ahead, state of transit ridership, safety and security, and financial challenges, labor update and issues, apprenticeship, mentoring, and recruitment, and maintaining CEO emotional wellness. A key takeaway from the After Transit CEO seminar is that 2026 approved authorization for transit funding remain untouched by the current administration. However, the real impact of transit funding and policy will be felt starting in year 2027 and beyond, as further legislative and budgetary decisions are implemented and take long-term effect. That concludes my report for this month. Thank you.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none. Thank you, Ken. All right. Now we'll move to the consent calendar. All matters, including the consent calendar, are considered routine by the LBT Board of Directors and will be enacted by one motion. There is no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the Board of Directors or the public request, in which the matter shall be removed from the consent calendar. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So move.
I'll second.
Perfect. All right. And then roll call.
Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sun,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Yorbe,
Aye.
Director Angeles,
Aye.
Director Kemp,
Aye.
Director Rawlings. Director Rawlings has been excused.
The motion carries. The consent calendar is approved. Moving on to agenda item 7, monthly financial report by Lisa Patton.
Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, Mr. McDonald, and everyone assembled here today. My name is Lisa Patton, and I'm the Executive Director and Vice President of Finance and Budget. I am before you today to present the monthly financial report for the period of July 1, 2024 through February 28th, 2025. So the financial report consists of 3 different reports. We'll start with the statement of revenue and expenses, then we'll go to the detailed expenses and then the balance sheet. The statement of revenue and expenses includes sections on operating revenue, subsidy revenue, and then total overall expenses. This report gives us a broad view of how much LBT has earned so far to date and how much we've expended. The top third of the report includes operating revenue, and that's the revenue that Long Beach Transit directly generates. Highlighted in green, you can see LBT's strong operating revenue performance this fiscal year, particularly with passenger fares and special events. The middle section of the report shows the subsidy revenue. As you know, subsidies are an essential component of LBT's financial health and strategic growth. As you can see, highlighted here is local revenues, and that's an area that's underperforming this year compared to projections and budgets. So the sales tax receipts, particularly for property local return, are less than what was projected. And so you'll see a decline there, that it's running under budget. Overall, total operating expenses are at 94% of budget and show overall strong cost control despite inflationary pressures. And so if we go to the next report, we can see the details on the operating expenses. The scheduled expenses provides insight into the breakdown of costs incurred during the reporting period. The focus here is on how various cost components align with the budget and their trends. Labor is LBT's largest and most critical investment we make in ensuring safe, reliable, and high quality service. As you can see, labor costs year to date are tracking close to budget, approximately $40 million year to date, which is 97% of the budget. LBT is managing the costs effectively with a few variances due to increased operator training and overtime. Overtime costs are running above budget and reflect efforts to ensure service coverage while onboarding new operators. Cost for student operators is running above budget, reflecting a focus on strengthening our operator workforce. Maintenance labor costs are above budget, totaling $5.2 million. This variance is due to high overtime costs for mechanics and utility personnel. Maintenance has had a temporary gap in filled positions, which requires existing employees to cover additional hours. Included under contract maintenance, you'll see expenses for landscape improvements that were completed at LBT 1. Under the material and supplies category is fleet parts and supplies. So this is an area that's trended above budget this year and reflects increased maintenance needs to an aging fleet and an increase in parts inflation. To proactively manage the potential impact of tariffs on fleet parts and supplies, our materials and warehouse team has implemented a multifaceted strategy that balances cost control, supply chain resilience, and operational stability. The team's approach includes working with our vehicle manufacturers to identify areas where tariffs may impact pricing, make informed procurement decisions, strengthening partnerships with our key suppliers to negotiate favorable pricing and delivery terms, sourcing backup vendors to further mitigate supply chain risk, competitively sourcing parts in bulk to obtain the best pricing and to minimize shipping costs, and continuing to maintain inventory precision, which is very data-driven to meet parts demand and stocked finished goods most exposed to cost fluctuations without overstocking. Under taxes and fees, this area is running 5% above budget, and this reflects an increase in the Midtown Business Improvement District fees. LBT's participation in Midtown supports security and cleaning of the district where LBT 1 is located and maintains LBT's commitment to maintaining a safe and attractive operational environment. Under safety costs, you'll see an increase here, and that reflects the expense for defibrillators for LBT 1 and LBT 2 that were not budgeted. Overall, total operating expenses show that operating costs are well managed, staying under budget while maintaining service quality. Labor expenses are being effectively managed with targeting efforts to control overtime while investing in student operator training. Next, we'll look at the balance sheet. The balance sheet's a key financial statement that provides a snapshot of LBT's financial position on February 28th. Looking at assets, we can see an increase in cash and investments, and that's due to the receipt of a portion of a rather large outstanding state receivable. This included receiving outstanding funding for operations under the Transportation Development Act and reimbursement for capital expenses related to SB 1 State of Good Repair funding. Overall, the assets on the balance sheet reflect a strong liquidity position. Next, we'll look at liabilities. Looking at the liabilities and capital section, we can see that LBT's financial position has remained consistent compared to the prior month and also to the prior year. So overall, LBT remains financially stable with strong liquidity, ensuring that we can meet our short-term obligations and maintain operations. We see continued federal, state, and local contributions to reinforce our mission, and then inflationary pressures are being managed through forward planning. As part of our ongoing efforts to manage potential cost increases due to tariffs, LBT has implemented a comprehensive strategy focusing on securing those critical assets, optimizing inventory, and enhancing procurement efficiency. These proactive steps ensure that we are safeguarding our financial stability while maintaining operational excellence. I want to thank our IT team who proactively procured 100 new devices early in the fiscal year ahead of potential price increases. This helps our workforce to ensure they have tools to perform efficiently. Also, our maintenance and procurement team were proactive in replacing 7 vehicles at the beginning of the fiscal year to mitigate potential cost increases. For fleet parts and supplies, our materials and warehouse team is managing inventory strategically by increasing safety stock, evaluating alternative suppliers, and consolidating shipments. LBT continues to strengthen our partnerships with our original equipment manufacturers to identify areas where tariffs may impact pricing to make more informed procurement decisions. This comprehensive strategy allows LBT to safeguard our operational resilience while protecting against potential cost increases. That completes our report. Thank you.
All right, are there any public comments? Seeing none, I'm gonna move, is there any board discussion? All right,
Thanks, Chair. So I understand that we're burning up a little bit overtime for our operators because we have vacancies. What are we doing to resolve that issue?
So our talent acquisition team has really ramped up recruiting and done a really successful job. And so we are at the highest level of operators that we have seen in years. And so we're seeing an increase in overtime. Overall, though, you'll see that TSD is at 97% of budget for operations. And so they're well positioned to be able to supply service for the remainder of the year. So I would say talent acquisition is really doing a very successful job in a very difficult category to recruit.
Do you feel like we have enough resources allocated to that effort to fill the void?
They're being successful, and so I will say from the finance perspective, yes, they have enough resources. I see Elizabeth is taking her mic, so yes, they are successful. Jump in.
We are 100% staffed, and our trajectory is to meet that 500 mark, which is our operators FTE by year end. So I don't know if that answers your question regarding resources.
That helps.
We always can use more staff, but we do have a budget. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a big concern, not just for this agency, but for many agencies in keeping enough staff on board. I just want to make sure you've got the tools to do it. Thanks.
any additional? Yes.
Well, first of all, I do appreciate, Lisa, the sort of foresight of the impacts of the tariffs. But as we basically are looking at the macroeconomics of what's going on in the country, I did notice on the subsidy portion with the local funding, it would seem to me that that'd be reflective of, sort of the overall spending of the economy on a local level. And I guess, are we seeing trends as it relates to that? And Chris, being representative of the city, trying to figure out whether we're obviously seeing the headlines of the city of Los Angeles with $1 billion deficit. And I was just in Sacramento this past week, and the overall budget of the state is also being impacted by the headwinds that we're facing on a macroeconomic. So just kind of curious about how we're planning for that.
So one of the things that we're seeing this year in particular is that the projections that Metro staff made for subsidies, which is based on sales tax, are lower than what they projected. And so what happens is what's called a negative carryover. And so we will see a decline in subsidy revenue for next fiscal year based on that. And so what's happening with the economy going forward is, I don't know if the CEO wants to comment on that, but what I can tell you is that, yes, sales tax receipts year to date are down, which is why we're seeing a decline at the local level. And we can expect that because of that decline, that's going to impact next fiscal year's funding.
Any additional board comment? Oh, yes.
Yeah, oh, really, really loud. Just to follow up on that, and I mean, I think Lisa explained it, but that's a pass through. So that's not a policy decision from the city or from the county to decrease revenues. So I just wanted to sort of be clear about that, and also differentiate between what's happening in the city of Los Angeles and city of Long Beach. While we appreciate the situation they're in, that's not the situation the city is in. So there's no layoffs anticipated for city of Long Beach operations. And We do have budgetary challenges, but we have a plan to meet them, and we've been very conservative over the years, which puts us, I think, in a different place than others to be able to address some mixed revenue, because sales tax is up but down versus what it was projected to be at. But our property tax revenue is actually very stable, and we continue to pursue a tourism strategy, which is related to the work the company does here. So as we expand tourism, those employees need to be able to get to and from work, and that's part of our revenue strategy at the city, and part of what the agency serves in terms of our ridership. So just wanted to provide that context.
Great. Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you so much, Lisa. As always, amazing job. All right, so moving on to agenda item 8, which will be presented by Jessica Signarile. Cinderella. Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, Mr. McDonald, and all who are assembled here. My name is Jessica Signorella, and I am the manager of the Service Planning Department here at Long Beach Transit. I'm before you today to request LBT's Board of Directors to authorize the President and CEO to enter into a contract with Transportation Management and Design Incorporated for consulting services to perform a comprehensive operational analysis. Here's an agenda of what I will be presenting on today. We'll begin by providing background regarding the study, an explanation of what a COA is and its purpose. Next, I'll cover the vendor selection and project process, including deliverables, objectives, and goals. Then we'll look at the importance of stakeholder inclusion and public engagement in the project. I will then end with staff recommendation. For background, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, ARP, provided federal funding to support the nation's public transportation systems. LBT applied to the ARP Additional Assistance Route Planning Restoration Program for funding to conduct a planning study. In 2023, LBT was awarded an ARP Route Planning Restoration Grant to conduct this study, known as a Comprehensive Operational Analysis, or COA. For context, LBT completed its last COA in 2018, which was known as the STAR Initiative, which stands for System-Wide Transit Analysis and Reassessment. COA is an extensive, in-depth review of how a public transit system operates. For LBT, this is our fixed route bus, dial-a-lift, and water taxi service. It looks at things like routes, schedules, ridership, meaning how many people use our service, and costs to figure out what's working well and what needs improvement. The COA identifies strengths, areas of improvement, and provides community-informed, data-driven suggestions to make a transit system more efficient, reliable, and useful for riders. Such a study is typically conducted by professionals who collect and analyze data, talk to internal and external customers and stakeholders, and make recommendations to transit agencies on how to improve service while balancing financial and operational constraints. The COA will also serve as a roadmap for enhancing LBT's transit network to do the following: build out LBT's high-quality transit corridors, plan a base level service of every 30 to 40 minutes on weekdays, explore transit priority measures such as transit signal priority, bus lanes, and bus bulb outs along LBT's HQTCs, and align with regional and local planning efforts to improve circulation and enhance key connections, including preparations for the 2026 FIFA World Cup and the LA 28 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Lastly, supporting LBT's goal of achieving a 100% zero-emission fleet. The COA will also examine LBT's overall transit system and how service is delivered to improve the efficiency and reliability of our fixed route bus, dial-a-lift, and water taxi services. Focus will be given to better service integration and operations while staying driven by feedback from customers. The ultimate goal of the COA is to attract more customers, maintain financial sustainability, and develop a transit system that is customer-centric, cost-effective, and future-ready. The COA will provide a line-by-line analysis of LBT's fixed route bus service to evaluate existing service, identify opportunities for service level improvements, new transit routes, and service expansion, enhance cost effectiveness and efficiencies to its current service, and focus on methods to grow ridership and possible revenue increases. The final plan will include a phased implementation strategy, cost analysis, and a clear vision for sustainable transit improvements over the next 10 years. The study is expected to take 12 months, and staff will return to the board with final recommendations. Critical to the success of the COA are stakeholder inclusion and public engagement. This includes a public involvement plan with a multifaceted approach incorporating in-person, digital, and multilingual methods to reach all stakeholders. Internal and external stakeholders will include staff, community groups, local agencies, educational institutions, and members of the public, and many other groups. The plan will prioritize accessibility and inclusivity, focusing on key demographic groups, including seniors, neurodiverse populations, job seekers, students, community organizations, faith-based groups, current transit riders, and non-English speaking communities, primarily Spanish, Khmer, and Tagalog. LBT issued a request for proposals to numerous qualified firms, and 3 proposals were received. Proposals were evaluated based on the following criteria: qualification of the firm, staffing and project organization, technical work plan, and price. TMD scored the highest. TMD brings industry best practices from work with over 500 transit planning projects and demonstrated success in building community consensus for change, as shown with recent COAs for neighboring agencies. TMD is located in Carlsbad, California, and is a DBE certified firm who will self-perform 66% of the contract. TMD is also committed to subcontract 18% of the contract to a certified DBE to conduct public outreach. Now that I've taken you through the key elements of the COA, it's time for our staff recommendation. Staff is requesting LBT's Board of Directors to authorize the President and CEO to enter into a contract with Transportation Management and Design Incorporated for consulting services to perform a COA for a total authorization not to exceed $599,917. That concludes my presentation today. I'm now happy to receive any questions or comments you might have. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none, discussion.
Yeah, thank you for your great report, Madam Chair. I just had a quick question as a new guy. How did we come to that particular consultant as the recommended vendor?
Sure. So there's the different criteria that I listed a moment ago in terms of what we looked at for all of the firms. So we sent out notification, and it also goes on, I want to say, Planet Bids in terms of notifying any interested firm to submit. From that, we got three different consultant groups back. And after reviewing all of them, the evaluation committee, which is comprised of 5 staff members, scored based on technical information, TMD, and then the price is kind of separate from that. So in the end, TMD had the highest score overall. Or anything.
No, thank you for that excellent answer, Ms. Signorello.
Thanks.
Okay, Director Angelo.
I just want to highlight and commend staff. Often us as board members always insist on, the outreach as it relates to minority owned and women owned. And this is a reflection, I think, of the priority of the board. And I just, often you're criticizing staff for not having reached goals and what have you. So I do want to highlight the fact that this is a reflection of something that's been successful as it relates to this. So congratulations on that.
Go for it.
Hey, Jessica, thank you. I want to echo my colleagues' comments. Congratulations on the DBE participation. Also, just a question, and I'm just wondering, will the information that we'll receive on the next agenda item on the survey, will that be part of TMD's evaluation? I could see it as being a very helpful tool for them in the next 12 months, and I know we have additional surveys. So I would just suggest that your teams factor that in as TMD works in the next 12 months of their analysis.
Yeah, that is a requirement that they incorporate that information, past planning studies, ongoing efforts. There's quite a lot that they have to look at to make sure they get our current and future customers in mind.
Great. Any comments on this side? No. All right, I'll call for a vote.
Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sun.
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Nyorbe,
Aye.
Director Angeles.
Aye.
Director Kemp.
Aye.
Director Rawlings. Director Rawlings has been excused.
Great, the motion carries. The recommendation to authorize President and CEO to enter into a contract with Transportation Management and Design, Inc. for consulting services to perform comprehensive operational analysis for a total authorization not to exceed $599,917 has been approved. All right, now we'll move on with Jim Scott, who will present agenda item 9.
Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, Mr. McDonald, and to all who are assembled here. My name is James Scott, and I am the Executive Director and Vice President of Maintenance and Infrastructure. I am before you today to request the board to authorize the President and CEO to exercise the second one-year contract option with Merrimack Energy Group for the purchase of unleaded gasoline fuel. Long Beach Transit operates a diverse fleet of 255 alternatively fueled buses comprising of 125 compressed natural gas (CNG) buses, 81 gasoline electric hybrid buses, and 49 battery electric buses (BEVs). At the May 27, 2021 Board of Directors meeting, the board authorized the President and CEO to enter into a 3-year base contract with 2 one-year options with Merrimack Energy Group for the purchase of unleaded gasoline fuel. At the January 25th, 2024 Board of Directors meeting, the board authorized the President and CEO to increase the base contract amount with Merrimack Energy Group due to the increase in fuel prices and to exercise the first one-year option. The purchase price of fuel is tied to the average daily rack rate, the price at which refineries sell gasoline to clients, via a wholesale daily index called Oil Price Information Service, or OPIS. Merrimack Energy Group, our current supplier, price for unleaded gasoline is 15 cents per gallon below the OPIS price. LBT's unleaded fuel usage is approximately 64,000 gallons per month, and staff is estimating an average cost of $4.25 per gallon. Funds to exercise the second one-year contract option will be allocated in the subsequent fiscal year's budget. Staff is requesting LBT's Board of Directors to authorize the President and CEO to exercise contract option year 2 with Merrimack Energy Group for the purchase of unleaded gasoline fuel at a cost of $3,264,000 for the second one-year contract option, including a 10% contingency in the amount of $326,400 for a total authorization amount not to exceed $3,590,400 $400. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second? Are there any public comments? Saying none, discussion from the board? All right. Oh, this one was fast. All right. Call for a vote.
Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sutton,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Yorba.
Aye.
Director Angeles.
Aye.
Director Kemp,
Aye.
Director Rawlings. Director Rawlings has been excused.
The motion carries. The recommendation to authorize the president and CEO to exercise contract option year 2 within Burnett Energy Group for the purchase of unlead gasoline fuel cost of $3,260,000 $3.5 million. Contract option to include 10% contingency in the amount of $326,400 for a total authorization not to exceed $3,590,400 has been approved. All right, now we move on. Thank you so much. Moving on to Michael, who will present agenda item 10.
So as Michael get to the podium, I just want to say something about this specific agenda item because this truly drives our organization. Each year we did this community survey, and as the importance of it, one of the things that we are going to do from this is every 6 months to have outreach to our customers because we find that this really helps us in improving the work that we do. The presentation might be a little bit long, but it's exactly what we do to run this organization or what guides the running of this organization. So.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Go ahead. All right. Well, good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, CEO McDonald, and all who are assembled here. My name is Mike Gold. I'm the Executive Director and Vice President of Customer Relations and Communication, and I'm here to present the 2024 Transit Safety, Community Value, and Customer Surveys. As our CEO said, it's a long presentation, so we got a lot of data to dig into. In today's presentation, I'm going to review the top takeaways, then discuss the results of the state mandated safety survey, the community value survey, and the customer satisfaction survey. So we're going to dig into a lot of data. As a preview, here are some of the top takeaways from all of the surveys. A strong majority feel that LBT provides value to the community. LBT is setting the standard nationally among our peers on the safety survey. Residents and customers want other entities to increase funding to LBT to provide more service. Personal safety is a concern, particularly for those who don't ride, but it's not the top concern. And LBT takes people where they need to go. So first, we're going to start by talking about the state mandated safety survey. In 2023, the California legislature passed SB 434, which mandated that the 10 largest transportation agencies conduct a safety-related survey. As you recall, our CEO mentioned this last month, and you were all provided copies of this report. The survey questions were consistent across all the agencies, and they were developed by the Mineta Institute for Transportation at San Jose State University. LBT conducted this survey on board buses and at bus stops in the fall of last year. The surveyors chose routes and stop locations to ensure a balance across the entire system and taking into account ridership by route. The survey was available in English and Spanish, as well as Khmer and Tagalog, with translators available for any other language. The surveyors set a goal of 500 surveys to be collected. They administered 570, and that represents a 95% confidence level. Because this survey instrument that they used is comparable, we do have comparison with other agencies. So let's take a look at overall perceptions about safety on board buses. And as you can see, when you look at the data here, 91% or the 62 plus 29 of somewhat safe and extremely safe, 91% of our customers feel safe on board LBT buses. And you can see when compared to OCTA, LA Metro, and San Diego Transit, we have a higher score. Next, we asked if any customers experienced any harassment or witnessed anything happening to others. You could see nearly 2/3 of customers did not experience any harassment, and just under 60% said they witnessed something. When we asked customers how safe do they feel overall, 91 said they feel extremely or somewhat safe. That's that 29 plus 62 number that you see. And here's how that number kind of breaks down. If somebody had seen or experienced something, 88% said they feel somewhat or extremely safe, with 13% saying they feel unsafe. And for those who had not seen or experienced anything, the figure of feeling overall safeness climbs to 98%. Next, when we asked those who had seen or experienced anything, how often they had experienced something personally or witnessed something, for those experiencing something personally, 21% said they experienced something on their trips, and 14% said that they had witnessed something happening on their bus trips. So next, what happens when something happens, either directly or somebody witnesses something happening? Well, 54% of the respondents said they took no action. 13% said that they reported this to LBT, with fewer reporting it to law enforcement. Of those that did report, you can see that 55% noted that they received an appropriate response, and that number climbs to 80% when asked if they sometimes or always received an appropriate response. The next set of questions ask, when did these incidents occur? And the majority, as you can see, happened during the school and work afternoon commute rush hour, and over 60% happened to somebody when they were traveling alone. We also wanted to know, where did these incidents occur? So 59% noted that something happened to them or to others on the bus, where 44% saying they witnessed or something happened at a bus stop. Next, we wanted to find out, okay, so what do you do to feel more safe when you're traveling on the system? Well, a majority, 51%, said they do nothing. They keep doing what they've been doing. While nearly a quarter say they don't ride at night, or maybe they pick a specific seat. Only 15% said that they will avoid a particular route or a particular stop or a particular station. So then we just kind of wanted to ask, let's look at perceptions at why somebody feels like something happened to them. Do they believe it was directed at them for a specific reason? Overall, 43% stated they don't know why, or they don't think that they were a subject of harassment for a specific reason. Yet, we do see that 24% believe the reason something happened was a result of their race or ethnicity, and 11% noting that they felt it was because of their sexual orientation. So what are the takeaways from all this? The takeaways are that, overall, our customers do feel safe on our buses and at stops. However, there are areas where we can improve and we can enhance the customer experience through personal safety and security campaigns, and maybe some other things we can do to help the overall feeling of safety. As an agency, I want us to investigate further with our customers directly on what can we do to enhance safety and enhance the perception of safety to get as close to zero as possible. Our goal is we want the incidents of harassment or perception to be incidents to go down to zero and have a more positive perception. Again, everybody should have a copy of this final report as it was sent to you last month. And as we close this one-time survey that was mandated by the legislature, we conducted this report. We posted the survey to our website and we're reporting it to you, which was all the requirements that the state mandated upon us. All right, so now I want to turn to the next survey, which is our community value survey. So the community values survey is designed to gauge how the community as a whole feels about Long Beach Transit and what they believe the value that Long Beach Transit brings to the communities that we serve. It's important to note, this is a random survey. Postcards were mailed to addresses within the service area to the communities that we serve. And the firm that did this followed up to encourage participation. This survey sets a new benchmark, and we're using a new vendor, ETC Institute. We ask questions that could be benchmarked against other agencies nationwide. Again, this is a first for us. For this survey, there's a 95% confidence level with 444 surveys completed. And as with all of our surveys, this one was available in English, Spanish, Khmer, and Tagalog. This survey was conducted online. Translation was also available. It's important to note for this survey that the responses could come from both customers and non-customers alike. The goal, again, is the overall sense from the community and what's their impressions and the value. We weren't looking for, again, we were looking for the overall impression. So first, let's take a look at the demographics. With the 444 people surveyed, here they are. These demographics very closely match the profile of the community according to the last census, with actually these numbers about a point or so off, within a point of what the census noted. This tells us that the survey was in fact random and representative, and it mirrors the communities that we serve. When we asked about language, here you could see that most of the respondents, the language they speak at home is English. Of those that noted that they speak a language other than English at home, 98% said they understand English well or very well. Let's take a look at brand recognition, and this is an important stat. As you're aware, are you aware of Long Beach Transit is what was asked. 92% of the communities that we serve, other respondents, were aware of Long Beach Transit and the services that we provide. This is a great baseline. People see our buses. They know our water taxis. They know our paratransit vehicles. They see us all over the community. They know who we are. LBT has high brand recognition. So in general, we wanted to know, how often does a typical community member ride or not ride Long Beach Transit? Well, a full 50% of those surveyed, random people in the community, noted that they rode LBT on average once a month or less. You can see here that 32% said they never rode and 19% are previous customers. When you look at these numbers as a whole, that bodes well for us as an agency that 50% say they ride us at some point. When we asked, why did you stop riding Long Beach Transit? You could see the top 3 reasons are, it takes too long, they don't feel safe from crime. And then when you look at that bottom number, other, the majority of people who listed another reason was they bought a car. So when we asked, how does the community rate Long Beach Transit? Here's another positive sign. 66% of the community rates LBT as good or very good. Next, we wanted to ask about value. How valuable does the community feel we are? And you could see that 86% say that we're of value to the community, while 62% say we're of value to them personally. Now remember, 50% of the community said that they ride Long Beach Transit, so a greater number say it's of value to them personally. Again, another positive sign. When we asked, why is LBT valuable to the community? You could see that most of the community feels that we provide services to customers that need transportation access, such as older adults or people with disabilities, or generally people who don't have access. And that's followed by providing access to educational opportunities. That's what they value the most. When we wanted to assess how people feel about our service, you can see that our vehicles are perceived as being safe, the investment in transit is valuable, and our services are accessible. 68%, again, have a positive view about the LBT brand. We asked, what should LBT's focus be to provide more value to the community? And you can see the top responses are providing access to jobs, transporting people with mobility needs, and providing affordable transportation. Those round out the top three. Next, when we said, well, what can LBT do to make riding the system more appealing to them personally? Nearly half of them ranked more frequent service as the top reason, with going to more places and better on-time performance rounding out the top three. And you can see perceptions about personal security come in at number 4. With respect to funding transit, we asked, should the community invest more in LBT? And 81% believe that funding should be greater. Another indication that the community finds value in what we do and the communities that we serve. So finally, to round out the community value presentation, I want to discuss a Net Promoter Score. If you're unfamiliar with Net Promoter Score, or NPS, the Net Promoter Score asks people, would you recommend LBT to friends and family? So to get that NPS, you have your promoters, which are the people that say yes, and you have your detractors, which are the people that say no, and you have neutral. They don't say anything. The promoters minus the detractors is the NPS. And in LBT's case, 38% would recommend LBT to friends and family with an equal number of detractors. What that means is our NPS is set at 0. But what's important to note is our Net Promoter Score is 62 points higher than the national average. Overall, what we see is a community that recognizes and values Long Beach Transit. And what they value is that we take people to jobs and we provide transportation access to those that need it. The last section focuses on our customers, and that's what I'm going to talk to, and what do our customers value in our service. But before we go into that, the top takeaways from our community survey. What does it all tell us? The community values Long Beach Transit, but we've got high brand recognition. Customers that we serve, and the community supports increasing funding to Long Beach Transit to provide more service. And finally, 50% of the community ride LBT, with 40% recommending us. These are all great baseline numbers, and they show the value that we provide and how we can be more value to the community. And they recognize that what Long Beach Transit does is we're taking people to jobs and education, and we're helping people with transportation needs. All right, so now we're going to close this out by talking about customer satisfaction. So the same firm that we used for the other surveys, ETC Institute, conducted this survey, and it was conducted in November of 2024. We did this survey on board buses and at stops, and care was taken to ensure that surveys were conducted across all corners of our service area and balanced for routes to make sure that we had a representation of our service area as a whole. Customers were also debriefed at the end to ensure that their answers were complete. ETC set a goal of collecting 500 responses. That's 400 on the weekday and 100 on the weekends. And that number, which they did collect, represents a 95% confidence level. Here's a little bit more about ETC and the survey. As noted previously, it's a new survey. So we're setting a new baseline, and we'll have future trend data to analyze. Also, ETC is utilized by 29 of the 50 largest transit agencies in the US. So we have some comparison data here, and you'll see benchmarks against how we benchmark against other transit agencies nationally. As with the community survey, this one was also available in multiple languages with translators available for those that needed them. So let's dig into this data. Demographically, LBT customer base is diverse, just like the communities that we serve. You could see here the self-identified gender split, and you could also see here that 62% of LBT customers are under 40. And depending on how you define an older adult, either 9% say they're over 65 or slightly more if you define it as over 62. The race and ethnic background of our customers is a little bit different from the community as a whole. And again, that's from the last census. The Latin population actually is about the same as it is reflected in the census, but the LBT customer, we serve more Black customers and fewer white customers than when you compare it to the community as a whole. We get into language. We asked about languages spoken at home. 74% say they speak English and 24 speak Spanish. And to get a little more understanding of what this means, while we do have customers that speak other languages at home, when we ask them if you speak another language at home, 92% said they speak English well or very well, and 91% said they read English well or very well. The next slide gives us a picture of household income of our customers. 80% of our customers make less than $50,000 a year, while 53% make under $25,000. This is well below the city median of $84,000. And with these income numbers, we also asked about cell phone usage, and 95% of LBT customers do own a cell phone with internet access. Just over half of our customers ride our services 5 or more days a week, with nearly 3/4 riding 3 or more days a week. We also noted that 34% of customers transfer once during the average trip, while 41% make 2 transfers. So now we're going to find out why our customers are riding Long Beach Transit. Well, if you remember, the community noted that they value Long Beach Transit because we connect people to employment. Well, when we asked our customers, why are you riding? Here's what they told us. Customers are riding us to work and school. 65% rely on us for that. Connecting people to education and to jobs is what the community values in transit, and it's what we're doing. Here's an important stat. 71% of our customers rely on LBT as the only way to get around. Nearly that same amount, 65%, said that if LBT was not available, they'd have to walk, take rideshare, or get a ride. 11% said they just wouldn't make the trip. The next few slides are going to show how LBT compares to other agencies on some different factors. This is the first time, again, where we've benchmarked against other agencies, and the picture shows that LBT sets the standard nationally in all the categories. All the categories, we exceed our peers on all the averages. First, overall satisfaction. 87% are satisfied or very satisfied with LBT services. You can see this compares to 58% nationally. Let's look at some other categories about how our customers feel about our services. 61% feel safe from crime on the bus. 65% feel safe from crime at bus stops, and this compares to 35 and 42% nationally, respectively. And 3/4 of our customers note that our buses are clean. That compares to just under 40% nationally. 3/4 of LBT customers feel that the frequency is satisfactory, buses run on time, and 85% say that feel like we get them where they need to go in a reasonable amount of time. And you could see when we compare those scores to where our national peers, we exceed those by 20 to 30 points on average. LBT scores high in the mid to 80th percentile when it comes to operating times, routes, and fares. Again, these scores are about 20 to 30% higher when compared nationally. And then finally, when we take a look at our bus operators, 83% say that our bus operators are helpful and courteous, and 87% say they operate the bus safely. And again, these results represent about 15 to 20 points more than our national benchmark. So overall, we have a lot to be proud of with respect to our survey results. Our scores are good when we are compared nationally, and we exceed the national benchmarks, again, in all these categories. It's all good news. The next set of questions sheds light on our customer priorities and what can we do to continually enhance that customer experience. We're getting near the end. So let's take a look. What's important to our customers with respect to service? Here, there's a series of questions where we ask customers to agree or disagree with statements to understand what they value and what needs improvement. Customers agree that buses operate on days when they're needed and routes are convenient. We also score well with buses being mechanically safe and operators being safe. And customers feel like we're getting them to their desired destinations in a reasonable amount of time. The numbers in yellow are agree and strongly agree. As we continue down the list, we see that we're providing access to key destinations. LBT is of value to the community overall, and fares are reasonable. As noted with the community, our customers also feel that LBT should receive more funding from other entities. And you could see that the feelings about personal safety and security are pretty close to those numbers that we received during the transit safety survey. So after our customers told us, what's important or how much they agree or disagree with various statements, we asked them what's most important to them. What are their top two? What are the top two improvements that they would choose to make our service even better? And the results show that our customers want more service. They want more frequency, they want longer hours, and they want us to go to more destinations. These three combined are 85% of the results. Personal security ranks a little bit lower at about 30%. And about 20% of respondents are asking for lower buses, cleaner stops, and cleaner buses and cleaner stops. So what do our customers want? Really what they want most is more service. And they also want to have a safer feeling, enhanced personal safety and security. We know that our customers feel safe, but we also know that there's more we can do to enhance and promote that feeling. So lastly, I want to talk about Net Promoter Score. Again, this is something that LBT has never done in the past. So when we asked our customers, would you recommend LBT to friends or family? We have a Net Promoter Score of 50. And that's higher than the national average, which is negative 21. We got this number because 64% of our customers would recommend LBT to their friends or family, 14% would not. Again, that difference between those two scores, 64 minus 14 is 50. This is a really strong showing for a public transit agency. We've looked at NPS scores from around the country, and LBT is scoring among the highest. So, in closing, what can we take away from these surveys, and what are we going to do about it? First, as a reminder, this survey is new. It provides a new baseline because we're asking questions in a different way and we're asking some different questions. And future reports are going to show you that trend data. LBT is now going to be conducting 2 surveys a year, one in the spring and one in the fall. So we're going to have another one coming up this spring. We previously only conducted 1 survey per year. LBT will use these results to enhance the customer experience when we discuss the budget in May. And you will see how the customer priorities are linked to the projects that are being proposed in the budget, given our available resources. And of course, something that we all should be proud of is that LBT is setting the standard for public transportation. We led the way in all 17 of the measures, and the firm that conducted this said they've never seen that. They've never seen an agency lead in all 17. So it's something to be proud of. And I really appreciate you hanging in there with me for the time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, is there any discussion from the board?
I mean, talk that long, you got to get a compliment. No, great job, Mr. Gold. And thank you for the good report. I took a few notes here. It's very impressive that you exceeded the goal for participation in both surveys. I thought that was noteworthy, and 92% brand recognition is incredible. So I think that's a testimony to the great work of you and staff here, and the CEO, and keep up the good work. Thanks for your report.
Thank you.
Go for it.
Thanks, Mr. Gold. That was a great survey, both of them. And echo your remarks that it was just wonderful news. Tell me something I don't know. I mean, it's just nice to confirm how wonderful our transit system is and how proud we are of it. And kudos to all of the staff, including all of you out here and the CEO. It's really remarkable to be a part of something so successful. I I hope that we can get those numbers down for people that feel a little insecure riding. And I hope we can do more things with service in the future, some innovative things in getting people to work and play faster. Thank you so much. Really great job.
Thank you.
Director Narva?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike, thank you very much for that. Congrats to you and your team for the thorough surveys. And also to borrow your words, we do have a lot to be proud of. Just a few comments. When LBT conducts these surveys, I think the community feels like they have a stake in the organization and they are part of making a difference in the organization and in the community. It's also encouraging to see the community wanting to improve service and the needs of LBT. The surveys also, for me, confirm the needs of low-income riders, right? And I believe we should always be cognizant of that finding, of that fact, whenever LBT is thinking of policy, whenever LBT is thinking of expenditures, we should always be cognizant of that. I also appreciated the accessibility of the survey. It was in person, different languages, online. So that was great. It seemed to me that the surveys to be very inclusive of all riders. I hope that we can share these results as we move forward, perhaps on our website, perhaps on social media as well. Use some of the numbers or percentages as sound bites. Perhaps also send our report, our survey, or a summary of it to council as well. We're always seeking to continue our partnership with council, and so I think this would be a great opportunity. Lastly, just on a personal level, I think after reviewing all the data, I feel like if I had answered all the questions, it really resonated with me. A lot of the numbers, whether they were high or low, I would have answered in those categories as well. So I think you guys did a very good job. I think people, one, were honest, and I think you guys did a good job of asking the right questions of the riders in the community. And that's all I have. So thank you again.
Thank you. I think it's worth noting our CEO has talked to me about this. There's three numbers that we think really stand out. There's a whole lot of great data, but there's three numbers that stand out on this. 80% of our customers are low income. 70% of our customers rely on us every day because we're the only form of transportation. And 65% of our customers are riding us get to work at school. If you take nothing away, take those three numbers and you have a great picture of who uses our service every single day.
Yes, Director Angeles?
You know, in our business in the airlines, we use surveys obviously to and in a lot of other businesses is to figure out what we can do better. Right. So it's a tool of improvement so that you can get a sense for great to hear that we're doing things right, but we usually try to focus on what we can do better and using the data in that way to dig deep respect to it. I hope in some of this is reflective of how we can do excellent, continue to do the things that we're doing well and continue. One of the numbers that stuck out to me is that in terms of the sort of improvement component to it is how we can serve the business community. And I'd love to hear maybe in futures or what have you is or some focus on how to, why is that, and what can we do? Is there partnerships that we can create, especially with big enterprises in Long Beach? Or maybe we can create some partnerships that allow us for them, their employees, and branding with them to say that, hey, look, here's an alternative to you driving and going to work. I know that we have this whole space component that's coming into Long Beach, especially around the airport area, and reaching out and creating these partnerships in order to look at that sort of business element and how we can encourage them to use our services in that way. But other than that, unless you have a comment as it relates to that question.
Our staff is going through this, and I mean, as an agency, our staff, because there's a lot of great data here, and that's one. We know that the big value that we bring to the community is we take people to jobs, right? And we know why our customers are riding. They're riding to work and to school. So that data point alone is a great entree to talk to companies about. This is one of the biggest values that we bring. Let's work together on how we can bring people to places of employment and provide that service and partner with them.
One of the things, incentivizing the companies themselves to subsidize actually the fares, right? So if you're instead of putting the burden necessarily on us as a public agency, is to say, look, maybe this is a great benefit to your employees if you provide this particular incentive for them to take public transit, and then but creating that dialogue depending on the levels and the enterprises that we would be dealing with. I just would like to see some sort of, hopefully, some sort of program that would try to do that.
We're working on it. Yep.
Great, and I know Director Penta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wow, didn't it? Sit back. I just wanted to echo Raul's recommendation that we put something on social media. I think there's a lot of good news to report here, as you said, but especially the safety piece. I was pleasantly surprised by that. But I think I think the survey said that's the biggest inhibitor. So if we just promote that, if in addition to other things, I think with your great promotion skills and social media skills and the folks you work with, I think that would be huge towards driving new ridership amongst folks who might need to get from work, home to work, and school. Those are two big areas. People who might, you already know, I need to tell you, you're in the business. I also think it would be a great idea to summarize this and package it in a way that is shareable, not only with city council, who are important partners, but perhaps our other elected officials who are in the area. I know that Marisol does a good job with developing relationships in those areas. Of course, I defer to you all, but I think those are really good recommendations that serve to address some of the things that we talk about every month here.
Well, now that we've presented it to the board and we put it out there, that's really the goal. Now, working across the agency, like how can we get this out into the public is, looking at this data, there's some great, my team in particular, we're looking at this as like, we know which campaigns we want to build, right? Because now we've got some real data behind it to try to move some needles and measure our progress. We've got those data points to say, okay, we have an NPS of 50. Well, I want to get it to 60. How are we going to get it up to 60? And, what do we think we can do as an example? And then also some of those perceptions, community perception versus what our customers tell us on safety, for example. We know we have some work to do there. So the community understands this is how our customers really feel about it.
Any additional?
Yeah, I think this is really wonderful. My biggest question is more for Ken about what comes next with the findings from this information. I think it reinforces some really positive things. Also reinforces sort of who the agency is serving, and we need to do the great job we're doing, but even better job serving people that really depend on the service to get to work. So I know we're doing the previous item that we approved in the strategic plan, but that'll take a year and a half, right? So I'm hoping that when you present the budget later this year, that there's some thinking about things that we can do immediately, including some of the hard decisions we talked about in the retreat, including we operate some very infrequent low ridership service in the city of Carson. And I don't know if that's as important as being able to provide better service in our high density corridors where people have to get to work, including a lot of our service employees downtown and around the Queen Mary. So that's really important to me and the city, and look forward to hearing more about that as we move towards the budget.
Great.
Add one thing, I think this has not been, if for the staff, this would have been out there already. I wanted to present it to the board first. We have a lot of plans of what we're gonna do with it, but if we had put it out in the public and you hear about it afterwards, you wanna know how come we didn't know about it. So the idea was presented, it begins today. I know Marisol has been wanting to grab it and run. I was holding her back from it. Let's get it to the board first. So this is where it begins after this today and things. Here we are, and then where we go from it. So there's been a lot of things already planned of what we're gonna do with this information, especially the fact that we are that high across the country. There are consultants who've asked me for reports already that they want to push out and work with us. So it is that there are a lot of opportunities, and there are also a lot of things that in there that I feel that we can do better. I was not very happy with our cleanliness before. I mean, it was higher than most in the country, but I was not happy with it. So might that be one that I am going to pay more attention to. We had a high score, but I do believe I. So I think there are a lot of opportunities there, and there are a lot of good things we can build upon as we go out. That ranked #1 in the country on 39 of the top 50. I think that that's something we have to put out there. So it will happen. That's the next.
Thank you, Ken. All right. Thank you so much, Mike. Such an incredible job for you and your team. Looking forward to the next report. So thank you. All right. Next item. I move that the Board of Directors discuss and take possible action on the requirements of the Brown Act regarding proper agenda noticing, especially this item that will review adequately of the information and possible action designation used of the agenda item description to ensure compliance with the Brown Act's transparency and public participation requirements. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. Are there any public comments? All right, seeing none, is there any further discussion from the board?
I just want to confirm that we are, from Vince's perspective, that this action would be appropriate and within the parameters of the law.
Yes, thank you for the question. I've reviewed this, and this was the conclusion to put it on the agenda for you all to discuss and potentially take action.
Well, I still need I'll call for a vote. Or is there any more board discussion on this?
So the motion was to discuss it between the board. So that was the motion. So there has not been a second motion made about what you guys would vote on.
Yeah, that's what what are we voting on?
The motion would be to discuss prospectively changing the format of the agenda to include information items and action items. So for today, the discussion would be, if you have a first and a second, it would be to discuss that possibility.
So, but we're not necessarily discussing what that action would be per se in terms of like making those changes.
That would be part of your discussion, is how it would look or not look. The action item would be discussing it right now. So motion second to discuss potential change going forward. And then if there's a second, you have a discussion about it, and you have a vote, yay or nay, and then either adopt it or it's not.
Ken, did you want to say something
Yeah,
about that?
I think I want to bring some reference to where this came from. We had a report brought to the board, which was information only. And we wanted to act on the information only, and that came up of, we do not have that in our or board activities that you can act on an information only item. So the idea was the discussion of how can you engage in an information only, and then can the board take action? That's where this came from, and the idea was we'll discuss, do we want to have some methodology that when you bring an item, information only item, can the board act on that item? Because the question was, did the public have a chance to be involved in that discussion if we're gonna make a decision on an information only item?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, CEO McDonald, for that recap. The only other thing that I would add / ask of council, in addition to what you've shared for information items that have been, duly and truly noticed to the public within the required frame under the Brown Act, as I recall, I think some note that there are some cities that do have a statement at the end of their agenda which addresses the possibility that the board might, at their discretion, vote on information items that have been noticed. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. There's some public agencies that put at the very bottom of their agenda, or it doesn't have to be at the bottom, but they put on their agenda that this agency reserves the right to take action on information items that only the parameters or what you have to be concerned about from a public agency point of view is to make sure that you give the public proper notice of what you're going to do and discuss at that particular meeting. So if it's an information / possible action item, your agenda, which you're posting 72 hours in advance, needs to let the public know what you may do if you take action at the particular meeting. That way they can come out and provide a comment or not. They can participate by just sitting in the meeting and listening. But if there isn't sufficient information or detail to describe the possible action, then you potentially run afoul of the Brown Act. So the safeguard is, or the prophylactic measures to make sure the public knows what you may be doing on that agenda.
As a follow-up to that, though, has litigation have been on these jurisdictions that have taken that approach? Has there been any case law on it?
Not aware of any litigation involving agencies that do that. I can offline, I can send you some sample agendas from public agencies that I'm referring to. You can take a look at them.
Actually,
but I'm not aware of
if it's
litigation.
appropriate, I'm not sure if it's appropriate. I'd like to make a motion to ask for a report back from council with examples for us to consider for a future board meeting. I think that would inform our discussion appropriately and give us some examples of what we may want to consider voting for. Can I make that as a motion, Madam Chair? Is that legal?
I think we have too many microphones on.
Okay. All right.
Just for clarity on the motion is that the council will come back with a list of how examples that we can actually look at and say, we would like to vote on doing it this way.
Yeah, and if it's
Yeah.
helpful with recommendations to Eduardo's concerns about, possible litigation and all the legal concerns that we should take into consideration.
Okay. Yeah, I believe it'll give us a little bit more context, like my colleague said, to have the discussion. Right now, we're just working off of a paragraph. And in fact, I thought this agenda item was something completely different on how to shorten the meeting. Because I know we've had that discussion.
Wrong agenda item.
Not to exclude anyone or not to exclude the public, but I thought we were gonna talk. So the item itself was a little confusing.
I'll second that motion, Raul.
All right, so the motion that we have is that we'll have a report back from council. Okay. All right. Any
So,
more further discussion
vote.
or
Yeah.
a vote?
So vote.
Roll call vote.
Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sun,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Nyorbe, Director Angeles, Director Camp,
Aye.
Director Rawlings? Director Rawlings has been excused.
Okay. All right. Is there any public comment? Invite members of the community? No public comment? All right. At this time, I'd like to move to closed session to discuss items set forth on agenda 13. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, the board is adjourned to closed session. The board now reconvenes from closed session. Will general counsel provide a closed session report on agenda item 13?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The General Counsel, the President, CEO, and the board met in closed session to discuss the listed agenda item. No reportable action occurred. That concludes my closed session report.
Great, thank you. Now we're at any board requests. Anybody have any
I just wanted to ask Ken and staff, obviously, we've been hearing a lot about the Olympics in terms of the changes that are occurring. Clearly, just recently, I've heard of news about the fact that they're moving some of these events to other states because of the funding issue that the city of Los Angeles is suffering through. And so I know that we're an integral part of the partnership with Metro and providing busing services during that period of time. And as a board request, just to give us like a report back on some some of the things that are the changes that are occurring. As only said, I mean, it is already 2025 and 2028 is only right around the corner. And if there is some funding issues or things of that nature, and I know that the city of Long Beach has really been highlighted as a venue, but I'm hearing all of these changes that are occurring because of all the things that are happening macro level. So I'd love to hear you guys' perspective on planning for that.
Thank you. I will look into it and bring that back to the board. I've been talking with the CEO at LA Metro just this weekend. I spent time talking with her about that. We're planning to have a meeting with all of the local transit agency, and the intent is to have it in this building. They want to have it where I am. I asked that I bring them somewhere maybe the end of the month of April, the early May. So sometime after that, I can give an update on some of the things that are happening, because she wanted to talk to everyone about some of what you were talking about. A lot of it is very fluid. Some we hear it this week and next week it's not happening. So there's a lot of fluidity in it that I couldn't even say if it's true or not right now. But I will bring something to the board. Hopefully by the time we bring the 2026 budget, I should be able to bring something about the plans that are going on with the Olympics to the full board.
Ken, if it's helpful, I can certainly make the city's Olympics team available to give you a better understanding of what's happening within the city boundaries. That's different than the transportation question, but there's LA 28 as the umbrella organization, but we have a separate team that's kind of working on the city venues for our 5 to 7 events.
Great. We'll take you up on that offer. Any other board requests? Yes, Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On a lighter note, I just have a comment. Since we're almost at the end of Women's History Month, I just want to take a moment to celebrate the wonderful women of LBT who lead, inspire, and empower our organization every day, from our chair, board, to our deputy CEO, to the women on our leadership executive team, and across every department. I truly appreciate your dedication, talent, and hard work. And I see those traits as essential in building a stronger organization with the Long Beach community. And I hope the board feels the same way and helps me recognize and celebrate the women in the transportation industry who work very hard every day. So thank you very much.
I would add to that the woman who runs this whole operation here, Jen Flores.
Oh, yes.
You know, Raul, your comments made me think about when I was just a little guy, and I came home from school one time, and my mom was obviously very frustrated, and she said, you know, if a woman was president, well, no, let me back up. She said, we need a woman to be president. Now, this was back in 62, 64, something like that. And I said, why, Mom? Why would a woman want to be president? And she goes, well, if a woman was president, we wouldn't have any more wars. And that really stuck to me all these years. And women have a different perspective on their work, on their home life, and in government. And it's a welcome change, and it's nice that we have this month to honor women. Thank you, and moms.
Amazing. Any board requests? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion? Do we hear a motion? Wait a minute. Hear a motion to approve the recommendation to adjourn? There we go. Then nobody wants.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So second.
All right, call for a vote.
Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sun,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Yorve,
Aye.
Director Angeles,
Aye.
Director Kemp, Director Rawlings, Directors Kemp and Rawlings have been excused.
Motion carries. The meeting is now adjourned. The next regular meeting will be held on April 24th, 2025.